Alright, we took the flapper off. If your flapper looks like this, it's definitely leaking. There's several different signs that let you know that you got a leaking flapper. That corrosion inside there, and then the fact that water's running down through there. You can normally see the water moving because of the water leaking down into there. But at any rate, if you've got a flapper that's all warped like that, you know for sure it's a bad one. You just need to replace it. The easiest way that I always suggest doing the flappers, one, get a Corky. They may be a little more expensive, but they're going to last longer. They've got black ones and red ones. Some American Standard toilets will have a little styrofoam piece sitting inside here, and they sell a flapper similar to that. But this is just your standard 2 1/8 inch flush valve flapper. Some flappers are 3-inch valves. Some of them are even bigger. At any rate, this is an older toilet, standard flapper. You can kind of basically tell by the size. This is roughly as big as the base of a pop can, roughly. It's probably a little bit bigger, but as long as your flapper isn't like that, you know, bigger than, you know, much larger than your hand, then, or maybe a bathroom tile. That's what we're looking at. If it's as, you know, roughly as big as the tile is, then you've got a bigger flush valve. You can kind of look inside here and see in there that a pop can will not go inside that. And if you think you can fit a pop can in there, you've got a bigger flapper. So the way I always do my flappers is I pull this off immediately, because we're going to use this as part of our adjustment. Then we're going to pop these onto the little ears or tits on the side of the flush valve. Okay, you want to make sure that they go through there and out the other side. I've seen people accidentally push them up through here and then through there. That's going to cause you problems. It's not going to work as it's designed. So then what I'm going to do is get this in here and I'm going to pull my chain so that there's barely any slack. You know, maybe something like that. It's still enough to move. It's not tight, you know, but it's not loose, flopping around to where that chain's going to lay underneath of it and cause you a leaker. So I wanted to point that out because it may be a little hard to look in here and see what I'm doing. Make sure nothing's in the way of the flapper. I was making sure this side wasn't hitting the tank, otherwise we were going to have to cut it. So at any rate, I'm pulling my slack up on my chain. Then I'm going to size it up by putting this on there. And then look at roughly where does it hit? How many links down does it hit? So right there I believe feels comfortable. So I'm going to pull it up. That one, and just for good measure, we're going to have, on this one we're going to go up one. Pull through, bam. And then since I was holding it in the middle, that's where I'm going to put it on. That's too much slack on the flapper. I've got too much chain. Would that work? Yeah, more than likely it would. But that's entirely too much. So we're going to pull it back out again and readjust that. I'm going to go ahead and go down probably three rings. Again, go back to the middle. Oh, that's too tight. There's no, it looks like there's slack, but it's not setting all the way down. See how it moves when I press on it? So I would say we can go back one more. And that should put us good. I may have to go back two, but we'll see what it does. Oh, our handle's moving. Look over here at this handle, because it was good, but see, someone hits it real hard and flushes the toilet and that whole thing's moving. So then these are backwards threads, so you would think it would be that way to tighten it up. It's not. tighten that up a little bit and get a better measurement on my flapper. Boy, that makes quite a difference where that darn thing's hanging at now. There's going to be so much chain left over that it's probably, I'm going to have to snap some of it off because it's going to interfere with my flapper falling down and sealing. So let me go to here. It's a little hard to see because this flush valve is on backwards. God, that's still a lot of slack. I can't believe this. I can't ever say I remember having a flapper chain that short. And that's all because of where that flush valve's at. So I just pulled on it a little bit so that I could stretch it out, take that slack out, because we don't want that falling underneath of our flapper. And it's, you know, it's got slack. It's not a whole bunch to where it's laying down on here, and it's not, you know, it's when you smack it, it moves. You know, you can tell that I'm able to push in on it a little bit before it starts picking the flapper up. So that pretty much completes rebuilding the toilet. Now, there's several other things you could do. Your flush valve, you could replace it. You could replace your tank to bolt kit. We just didn't do that on this video. And one more thing that I do suggest, when you pull an old flapper, take your fingernail and run it around this rim and see if you can feel a snag on anything. Right there where it's been leaking for some time, I felt it snagging on, can't really see it, but on the lime that was down in there. So run it around some more, make sure it feels like it's in pretty good shape. Feels pretty darn good. So we're good to go. We're going to turn the water on and see how things are going. If you have questions whether or not your flapper is leaking, you can take food coloring. I always suggest take the bottle of food coloring, stick it down inside the water, and then squeeze it around the flapper. And then just let it sit for a little while. If you come back in 5 or 10 minutes and there's nothing in there, and you still really believe your toilet's running, give it a half hour. Make sure nobody uses it, obviously. Come back in there and then look in the bowl of the toilet. If you've got whatever color you used inside that bowl, then the chances are it's leaking. I normally suggest using green or blue. It just seems to be a little bit darker, more of a dominant color, and it shows up a little bit better. So if you turn your water supply on and it starts leaking, one of the places that it can leak is this packing nut on your water supply right here. It's actually this nut. This shaft goes inside there, and there's a gasket inside here that seals it where it's at the shaft. So if it starts dripping from right there, then the chances are you're either going to have to rebuild it or you're going to have to tighten it up. So you just take it. Phew, this one's snug. So I'm going to hold on to it. It's not easily moving. Let me see if I can reach in this way and still show you guys what I'm doing here. Let's try, I don't know. So I'm going to hold that valve, and then I'm going to try to tighten it. Okay, there we go. So I'm holding the valve so it don't turn on me, and then I'm tightening the valve, or the packing nut. If that packing nut is leaking, sometimes you have to shut the water off to do it, sometimes you don't. You can take this nut, unscrew it counterclockwise, take some Teflon, about 6 inches of Teflon, and run it around the shaft behind this nut. Then take that nut, push it back on, screw it on, and that should seal it up. If tightening it don't work. Well, we can no longer hear that toilet running. The water in the bowl doesn't seem to be moving along the edges. It's as simple as that. There's obviously several different kinds of flappers and rebuilds. I've got some of them listed on my other videos. Check them out. If you have any questions, leave them in the put a comment below or send me a message, and I'll be more than happy to try to help assist you. Thanks for watching. Hit a like or a subscribe or both.